Shalom Lakam, Kal Yashara'al. How's your peace, Israel? Welcome back to another video. And we're in chapter 10 of the Tanakh. I don't know if you can see this here. The Hebrew English Tanakh, right? And we're going to pick up where we left off, which is chapter 10. And it reads on this wise, okay? It says, "These are the lines of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The sons of Noah, sons were born to them after the flood. The descendants of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yavan, Tubal, Meshach, Taris. The descendants of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, Togarmah. The descendants of Yavan, Elisha, and Tarshish, the Kittim and the Dodanim. From these, the maritime nations branched out. These are the descendants of Japheth by their land, each with its language, their clans, and their nations. The descendants of Ham was Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, Canaan. The descendants of Ham was Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, Canaan. The descendants of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Rama, Sabteka. The descendants of Rama were Sheba, Dedan. Cush also begat Nimrod, who was the first man of might on earth. He was a mighty hunter by the grace of the Lord. Hence the saying, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter by the grace of the Lord. The mainstays of his kingdom were Babylon, Erech, Echad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. From that land, Ashur went forth and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Calah, and Rezen, between Nineveh and Calah, that is the great city. And Mitzrayim begot Ludim, the Anamim, the Lehobim, the Naphtuhim, the Pathoshim, the Calusim, and the Caphorim, whence the Philistines came forth. Canaan begot Sidon, the firstborn, and Heth, and Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgasites, the Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterwards, the clans of Canaan, Canaanites or Canaanites, spread out. The original Canaanite territory extended from Sidon as far as Gerar, near Gaza, as far as Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zeboim, near Lasha. These are the descendants of Ham, according to their clans and languages by their lands and nations. Sons were also born to Shem, or Sham, ancestor of all the descendants of Eber, right, and older brother of Japheth. The descendants of Sham, Elam, Ashur, Arphaxad, Luad, Aram. The descendants of Aram was Uz, Hual, Getha, and Mash. Arphaxad begot Shelah, and Shelah begot Eber. Two sons were born to Eber. The name of the first was Peleg. In his days, the earth was divided, and the name of his brother was Yoktan. Yoktan begot Elamodad, Shelef, Hazar Maveth, Yara, Hadoram, Uzal, Dikla, Obal, Ibimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, Yobab. All these were the descendants of Yoktan. Their settlements extended from Meshah as far as Sephar, their hill country to the east. These are the descendants of Shem, according to their clans and their languages, by their lands, according to their nations. These are the groupings of Noah's descendants, according to their origins, by their nations. And from these, the nations branched out over the earth after the flood. Chapter 11. It says, everyone on the earth had the same language and the same words. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them hard. Brick served them as stone, and bitumen served them as mortar. And they said, come, let us build us a city and a tower with its top in the sky, to make a name for ourselves, else we shall be scattered all over the world. The Lord came down to us to look at the city and tower that man had built. And the Lord said, if as one people with one language for all, this is how they have begun to act, then nothing that they may purpose to do will be out of their reach. Let us then go down and confound their speech there, so that they shall not understand one another's speech. Thus the Lord scattered them from there over the face of the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confounded the speech of the whole earth. And from there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. This is the line of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he begot Arphaxad, 2 years after the flood. After the birth of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he begot Shelah, and the birth of Shelah, Arphaxad lived for 403 years. And this is quite interesting because I've always so we know that the Gregorian numbering system for years is what they call it, is 365. Yeah. And I've always got tripped up on the prophecy of Adam, him sinning, Vive, let's say, or what how has that come to pass? Because we're in 2024. If it was 5,500 years after if it was 5,500 years that the Messiah was coming to redeem Adam, then that means if you add 2024, that means we're in 7,074, fourth year, which would be the Shabbat. Now, I mean, biblically, that's fine. I mean, because how the story goes is that the Father on the Shabbat, he rested, right? And 1,000 years is a day unto us is like 1,000. A day unto the Father is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. So this 7,000th year is the year of rest, which from prophecy or spiritual insight, we would come to a conclusion that the Father is gonna come back and bring us rest, as one should, as it should be his Shabbat year of rest. You see what I'm saying? But we also have to understand that their years are 360. They count their years as 365, right? So if you were to take one day of every year, we would actually get the more accurate representation of how many years it has been, per se. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not too sure how it would work like that, but that would end up being, if it's 2024 years, if you were to take a day of every year of that, that's 2024 days, right? Really, there's 364 days and a half, but 65 days and a half as they count it. So if it's 2024 days, and we convert that into years, or you do the maths. Let's actually do the maths. Yeah, calculate it. I could do the maths, but I just thought, well, let me do the maths. Let's not resort to computers straight away. So 364. So let's just say 360. Let's just say 300. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Yeah, let's say 18. Yeah. So already then we've got 18 that's with 300. Then we've got 60. 6. Let's just roughly say, I'm not going to go too much into that, but let's just say that's roughly 18 extra. That's like 18 extra years that's been added on from this 2024, from the birth of Hamashiach. Is another 18 years has been uh, lost in translation. If that's the time that they've changed times, you see what I'm saying? So I've always just been trying to figure out how to calculate, but then even that's not really enough to really. There's a lot of things throughout all the other extra biblical texts where it says that the prophecy was 5,500 years. So my question is has it been it must have been roughly sometime 2000 something years, or something along the lines. Um, yeah, I don't know. Only the Father will really enable us to understand this, but in the future, I only hope that He will let me know how this thing has actually worked out. But let's continue. It says, when Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he begot Shelah, and after the birth of Shelah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he begot Ebar, and the birth of Ebar, Shelah lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. When Ebar had lived 34 years, he begot Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Ebar lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he begot Reu. And after the birth of Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he begot Serug. After the birth of Serug, Reu lived 207 years and begot sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he begot Nahor. The birth of Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he begot Terah. And the birth of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and begot sons and daughters. When Terah had lived 70 years, he begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Okay. Now this is the line of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Haran begot Lot. Haran died in the lifetime of his father, Terah, in his native land of Ur of Chaldeans. And if anyone reads in the book of Yasha, it tells you how Haran actually died. Okay. Abraham and Nahor took to themselves wives, the name of Abraham's wife being Sarah, and that of Nahor's wife Milcah, and the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarah was barren; she had no child. Terah took his son Abraham, his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his brother and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abraham, and they set out together from the Ur of Chaldeans to the land of the Ur of the Chaldeans for the land of Canaan. But when they had come as far as Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah came to 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Chapter 12 says, the Lord said to Abraham, go forth from your native land, from your father's house, to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and curse those that curse him that curses you. And all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you. Okay. Abraham went forth as the Lord had commanded him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he left Haran. Abraham took his wife Sarah and his brother's son Lot and all the wealth that he had amassed, and the persons that they had acquired in Haran, and they set out from the land of Canaan. When they arrived in the land of Canaan, Abraham passed through the land as far as the site of Shechem at the tabernacle of Moreh. The Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abraham and said, I will assign this land to your offspring. And he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he moved on to the hill country east of Bethel and pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there an altar to the Lord, invoked the name but the Lord by name. Then Abraham journeyed by stages towards the Negev. There was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down to Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarah, I know what a beautiful woman you are. If the Egyptians see you and think she is his wife, they will kill me and let you live. Please say that you are my sister, that it may go well with me because of you, and that I may remain alive thanks to you. When Abraham entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw how very beautiful the woman was. Pharaoh's courtiers saw her and praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's palace. And because of her, it went well with Abraham. He acquired sheep, oxen, asses, male, which is a donkey, and female slaves, she asses, and camels. But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his household with mighty plagues on account of Sarai, the wife of Abraham. Pharaoh sent for Abraham and said, what is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her as my wife? Now here is your wife, take her and be gone. And Pharaoh put men in charge of him, and they sent him off with his wife and all that he possessed. Chapter 13 says, from Egypt Abraham went up into the Negev with his wife and all that he possessed, together with Lot. Now Abraham was very rich in cattle, silver, and gold, and he proceeded by stage from the Negev as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been formerly, between Bethel and Ai, the site of the altar that he had built there at first. And there Abraham invoked the Lord by name. Lot, who went with Abraham, also had flocks and herds and tents, so that the land could not support them staying together, for their possession was so great that they could not remain together. And there was quarreling between the herdsmen of Abraham's cattle and those of Lot's cattle. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were then dwelling in the land. Abraham said to Lot, let there be no strife between you and me, between my herdsmen and yours, for we are kinsmen. Is not the whole land before you? Let us separate. If you go north, I will go south, and if you go south, I will go north. Lot looked about him and saw how well watered was the whole plain of the Jordan. All of it. This was before the land. This is before the Lord had destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, all the way to Zoar, the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan, and Lot journeyed eastward. Thus they parted from each other. Abraham remained in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled in the cities of the plain, pitching his tent near Sodom. Now the inhabitants of Sodom were very wicked sinners against the Lord. And the Lord said to Abraham, after Lot had parted from him, rise your eyes and look out from where you are, to the north and to the south, to the east and the west. For I give all the land that you see to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so if one can count the dust of the earth, then your offspring too can be counted. Up, walk about the land to its length, its breadth, for I give it to you. And Abraham moved his tent and came to dwell at the terebinths of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and he built an altar there to the Lord. And the king Raphael of Shinar, king of Arioch of Elazar, king of Chadorlama of Elam, and King Tidal of Goim made war on King Barah of Sodom, King Birsha of Gomorrah, King Shinab of Admah, King Shemaba of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. All the latter joined forces at the valley of Siddim, now the Dead Sea. 12 years they served Chador Lama. In the 10th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chador Lama, the kings who were with him, came and defeated Raphaim at Ashtaroth, Karnaim, the Zuzim at Ham, the Emim at Shever Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their hill country of Seir, as far as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. On their way back, they came to En Mishpat, which is Kadesh, and subdued all the territory of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites who dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, the king of Bela, which is Zaor, went forth and engaged them in battle in the valley of Siddim. King Chador Lama of Elam, king of Tidal of Goim, King Amraphel of Shinar, and King Arioch of Eliezer. 4 kings against those 5. Now the valley of Siddim was dotted with bitumen pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah in their flight threw themselves into them, while the rest escaped to the hill country. The invaders seized all the wealth of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their provisions, and went their way. They also took Lot, the son of Abraham's brother, and his possessions, and departed, for he had settled in Sodom. A fugitive brought the news to Abraham, the Hebrew. Okay. Now, those of you who've gone on my Instagram, one of my last videos I did was talking about how being a Hebrew, you don't have to speak Hebrew to be a Hebrew. A Hebrew actually is someone who descends from Iba, right? And I don't know if you can see this, right? But you probably can't. Let me just see if I can. The word here, there's a word here, right? Oh, sorry, let's go this way. You see it says Hebrew, okay? That's if so now, because it says Hebrew here, yeah, Hebrew. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, that's better. You can see it says Hebrew there. Well, on this corresponding side here, there is going to be a word in actual Hebrew, which actually explains what that English translation is. And if I can find it, this is verse 13. Yeah, there we go. So, right, there's actually where my finger is, where I've circled it. Yeah, it says that it says Ha. What it circles, it says Ha Ibari. Now, if you take the Ha, the Habal or the Hey symbol, you have Ibri. If you take the Yawad or the Yod at the end, you have Ibar. Ibar is actually a person. We just read the descendants of Ibar. So if you were to go back and see, Ibar was an individual. Now, Ibari is another way of saying my Iba, the people, like the people of Iba. Yeah, it's like I said in the other video. It's like that's brother. Achi, that's my brother. You see, it's saying that's someone that belongs to me. He's my brother, so he's connected to me. So he Abraham is a Hebrew. He's connected to Eba. It's like Ibri. He's Eba's people. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's what makes you a Hebrew. That's what the word Hebrew there is a circle there, because that's what it means. It means Iba. Ibri means the people of Iba. Anyway, let's continue. It says, "Who a fugitive brought the news to Abraham, the Hebrew, who was dwelling at the terebinths of Mamre, the Amorite, kingsman of Eshcol and Anah, these being Abraham's allies. When Abraham heard that his kinsman had been taken captive, he mustered his retainers, born into his household, numbering 318, and went in pursuit as far as Dan." Now it's quite interesting how they use the it's interesting how we know that these scriptures were written by someone that was after the times of Abraham. Why? Because in the times of Abraham, the tribe of Dan didn't exist. So the individual that actually put these together, how we know it has to be someone like Moses passed after Abraham, is that he's referring to the place where Dan as a tribe was dwelling in Israel. So that would have been in the time of someone who would have been after when Dan was born. See what I'm saying? This brings context to it gives more of a timestamp, because he's referring to a place of Dan, and in the time of Abraham's time, Dan wasn't existing. It was, the 12 tribes of Israel wasn't alive. Jacob wasn't alive yet. You see what I'm saying? So it says, at night, he and his servants deployed against them and defeated them, and he pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. He brought back all the possessions. He also brought back his kinsman Lot and his possessions, and the woman and the rest of the people. When he returned from defeating Chador Laomar and the kings with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet them in the valley of Shevai, which is the valley of the king. And King Melchizedek of Salem brought out bread and wine. He was a priest of God Most High. He blessed him, saying, "Blessed be Abraham of God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your foes into your hand." And Abraham gave him a tenth of everything. Then the king of Sodom said to Abraham, "Give me the persons and take the possessions for yourself." But Abraham said to the king of Sodom, "Swear to the Lord God, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, I will not take so much as a thread or a sandal strap of what is yours. You shall not say, 'It is I who made Abraham rich.' For me, nothing but what my servants have used up as for the share of the men who went with me, and Anah, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them take their share." Says chapter 15. So sometime later, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. He said, "Fear not, Abraham. I am a shield to you. Your reward shall be very great." And Abraham said, "O Lord, what can you give me, seeing that I shall die childless? And the one in charge of my household is Damazek." Damazek Eliezer. Abraham said further, "Since you have granted me no offspring, my steward will be my heir." The word of the Lord came to him in reply that one shall not be your heir. None but your very own issue shall be your heir. He took him outside and said, "Look towards heaven and count the stars, if you're able to count them." And he added, "So shall your offspring be." And because he put his trust in the Lord, he reckoned it to his merit. Then he said to him, "I am the Lord who brought you out of the Ur of the Chaldeans to assign the land to you as a possession." And he said, "O Lord God, how shall I bring that I am to possess it?" He answered, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer." a 3-year-old she-goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young bird. He brought him he brought him all these and cut them in two, placing each half opposite the other, but he did not cut up the bird. Birds of prey came down upon the carcasses, and Abraham drove them away. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and a great dark dread descended upon him. And he said to Abraham, know well that your offspring shall be strangers in a land not theirs, and they shall be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I will execute judgment on the nation they serve, and in the day they shall go free with great wealth. And in the end they shall go free with great wealth. As for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried at a ripe old age, and they shall return here in the fourth generation, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. When the sun set and it was very dark, there appeared a smoking oven and a flaming torch which passed between those pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your offspring I assign this land, from the river of Egypt to the to the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites, the Kenizzites, the Kadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Chapter 16 says, Sarai, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children. She had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abraham, look, the Lord has kept me from bearing. Consult with my maid, perhaps I shall have a son through her. And Abraham heeded Sarai's request. So Abraham's wife, took her maid Hagar the Egyptian, after Abraham had dwelt in the land of Canaan 10 years, and gave her to her husband Abraham as a concubine. He cohabited with Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was lowered in her esteem. And Sarai said to Abraham, the wrong done me is your fault. I myself put my maid in your bosom. Now that she sees she is pregnant, I am lowered in her esteem. The Lord decided between you and me. Abraham said to Sarah, your maid is your hands. Deal with her as you think right. Then Sarah treated her harshly, and she ran away from her. An angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring of the road to Shur, and said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from? Where are you going? And she said, I am running away from my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said to her, go back to your mistress and submit to her harsh treatment. And the angel of the Lord said to her, I will greatly increase your offspring, and they shall be too many to count. The angel of the Lord said to her, behold, you are with child, and shall bear a son. You shall call him Ishmael, for the Lord has paid heed to your suffering. He shall be a wild donkey or ass of a man. His hand shall be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. He shall dwell alongside all his kingdom. And she called the Lord who spoke to her, you are El Roi, by which she meant, have I not gone on seeing after ye saw me? Therefore the well was called Be'er Lahai Roi. It is between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore a son to Abraham, and Abraham gave the son that Hagar bore him the name Ishmael. Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abraham. Chapter 17. When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abraham and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Walk in my ways and be blameless. I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will make you exceedingly numerous. Abraham threw himself on his face, and God spoke to him further. As for me, this is my covenant with you. You shall be the father of a multitude of nations, and you shall no longer be called Abram, but your name shall be called Abraham. For I make you the father of a multitude of nations. I will make you exceedingly fertile, and make nations of you, and kings shall come forth from you. I will maintain my covenant between me and you and your offspring to come as an everlasting covenant throughout the ages, to be God to you and to your offsprings to come. I assign the land you sojourn into to you and your offspring to come, all the land of of Canaan as an everlasting holding. I will be their God. God further said to Abram, as for you, you and your offspring to come throughout the ages shall keep my covenant. Such shall be the covenant between me and your offspring to follow, which you shall keep. Every male among you shall be circumcised. You shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and you shall be and that shall be and that shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. And throughout the generations, every male among you shall be circumcised at the age of 8 days. As for the homeborn slave and the one brought from an outsider who is not of your offspring, they must be circumcised, homeborn and purchased alike. Thus shall my covenant be marked in your flesh as an everlasting pact. If any male who is uncircumcised fails to circumcise the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his skin. He has broken my covenant. And God said to Abram, as for your wife, Sarai, and you shall not call her Sarai, but her name shall be Sarah. I will bless her, indeed, I will give you a son by her. I will bless her so that she shall give rise to nations, rulers of peoples shall issue from her. Abraham threw himself on his face and laughed as he said to himself, can a child be born to a man 100 years old, or can Sarah bear a child at 90? And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live by your favor. God said, nevertheless, Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall name him Isaac, and I will maintain my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his offspring to come. As for Ishmael, I have heeded you. I hereby bless him. I will make him fertile and exceedingly numerous. He shall be the father of 12 chieftains, and I will make of him a great nation. But my covenant I will maintain with Isaac from Sarah shall bear to you at this season next year. And when he was done speaking with him, God was gone from Abraham. Then Abraham took his son Ishmael and all his homeborn slaves and all those he had brought, every male in Abraham's household. He circumcised the flesh of their foreskins on that very day, as God had spoken to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he circumcised the flesh of his foreskin, and his son Ishmael was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Thus Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised on on that very day. And all his household, his homeborn slave, and those that had been brought from outside were circumcised with him. Chapter 18. The Lord appeared to him by the tabrets of Mamre. He was sitting at the entrance of the tent as the day grew hot. Looking up, he saw 3 men standing near him. As soon as he saw them, he ran from the entrance of the tent to greet them, and bowing to the ground, he said, my lords, if it please you, do not go on past your servant. Let a little water be brought. Bathe your feet and recline under the tree, and let me fetch a morsel of bread that you may refresh yourselves. Then go on, seeing that you have come your servant's way. They replied, do as you have said. Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah and said, quick, 3 seahs of choice flour, knead and make cakes. Then Abraham ran to the herd, took a calf, tender and choice, and gave it to a servant boy who hastened to prepare it. He took curds and milk and calf that he prepared and set these before them, and he waited on them under the tree as they ate. They said to him, where is your wife Sarah? And he replied, there in the tent. Then one said, I will return to you next year, and your wife Sarah shall have a son. Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. Sarah had stopped having the periods of women. Okay. And Sarah laughed to herself, saying, now that I am withered, am I to have enjoyment with my household, with my husband so old? Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I in truth bear a child as old as I am? Is anything too wondrous for the Lord? I will return to you at the same season next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah lied, saying, I did not laugh, for she was frightened. But he replied, You did laugh. 16 says, yeah, so I think she's going what they class as menopause. This is the, menopause is that period of time in your, in your womanhood where, you stop, you know, um, your biological system stops producing certain things which promotes pregnancy. You see, so that's what it made it even more hard to believe. That's why she found it difficult, because she stopped having her period, so she thought that was not even possible. But this is how you know if the father was in the midst of these men, um, and even one of them could have been so much to say as the son. He says that the men set out from there and looked down towards Sodom, and Abraham walking with them to see them off. Now the Lord had said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do, since Abraham is to become a great and populous nation, and all the nations of the earth are to bless themselves by him? For I have singled him out, that he may instruct his children and his posterity to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is just and right, in order that the Lord may bring about for Abraham what he has promised. Then the Lord said, The outrage of Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, and their sin so grave, right? Kind of like America to this day. I will go down to see whether they have acted altogether according to the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will take note. The men went on from there to Sodom, while Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Abraham came towards and said, Will you sweep away the innocent along with the guilty? What if there should be 50 innocent within the city? You will you then wipe out the place and not forgive it for the sake of the innocent 50 who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to bring death upon the innocent as well as the guilty, so the innocent and the guilty far alike. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly? And the Lord answered, If I find within the city of Sodom 50 innocent ones, I will forgive the whole place for their sake. Abraham spoke up, saying, Here I venture to speak to my Lord. I, who am but dust and ashes, what if the 50 innocent should lack five? Will you destroy the whole city for one of the five? He answered, I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. But he spoke to him again and said, What if 40 should be found there? And he answered, I will not do it for the sake of the 40. And he said, Let not my Lord be angry if I go on. What if 30 should be found there? And he only answered, I will not do it if I found 30 there. And he said, Venture again to speak to my Lord. What if 20 should be found there? And he answered, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. And he said, Let not my Lord be angry if I speak but this last time. What if 10 should be found there? And he answered, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. When the Lord had finished speaking to Abraham, he departed, and Abraham returned to his place. Chapter 19. Now, this is the bit where it gets interesting, because he's had a dialogue with these men, but then it says the two angels arrived in Sodom. Right now, remember we saw there was three men, so now it's become two angels. So what happened with the other man? So we can come to the conclusion that these weren't ordinary men; these were angels. Okay, or at least two of them were angels, and the other one could have been someone of a higher stature. Okay, because we see this dialogue that Abraham's having. He's having it with the other one, and he's calling it the Lord. The Lord is actually, in the Hebrew here, we're seeing it's Yahweh. Now we know that Yahweh, Abi, the Father, he's invisible, and no one can see his face and live. Right? No one has seen his shape or his form. So if um if it's saying the Lord and it's saying Yahweh, right, where it's saying the Lord, right, then we could precept that with the fact that Hamashiach says that he comes in his father's name. So that just see, this is how we precept. When you precept things, then you can start to see that the Mashiach is actually in this Old Testament, because he says that he comes in his father's name, and no one can see his father that live. No one has seen his shape or heard his voice or seen his form. So all the times we're hearing that he's speaking and hearing, that couldn't be the Father. So if it's saying the Father's name, then obviously we could presume that it's the Messiah, because he's come in his Father's name to do the will of his Father, right? So that's what I get from this. I'm not saying that, you know, that's the 100% undenied truth. I'm just saying that it could be. There's a chance that it could be Hamashiach. There's a chance that it could be Michael. It could be Raphael. It could be any of these angels. You see what I'm saying? Because they do work for the Father. You see what I'm saying? So they do come in his Father's name because they do his work. Do you get what I'm saying? Anyway, let's go to 19. It says, the two angels arrived in Sodom in the evening as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to greet them, and bowing low with his face to the ground. I mean, another thing, if they were all angels, why didn't all three of them go? That's another thing. It makes more sense. It just kind of makes it seem that the one that stayed had some form of authority. He was someone who had come with the two angels, and the two angels were going down to destroy. You see, well, we're going to read anyway. It says the two angels arrived in Sodom in the evening, as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to greet them, and bowing low with his face to the ground, he said, "Please, my lords, turn aside to your servant's house to spend the night, and bathe your feet. Then you may be on your way early." But they said, "No, we will spend the night in the square." But he urged them strongly, so they turned his way, and entered his house. He prepared a feast for them, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. They had not yet lain down when the townspeople, the men of Sodom, young and old, all the people to the last man, gathered about the house. And they shouted to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may be intimate with them." So Lot went out to them to the entrance, shut the door behind him, and said, "I beg you, my friends, do not commit such a wrong. Look, I have two daughters who have not known a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you please. But do not do anything to these men, since they have come under the shelter of my roof." But they said, "Stand back, the fellow," they said. "Stand back, the fellow," they said, "came here as an alien, and already he acts the ruler. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." And they passed hard against the person of Lot and moved forward to break the door. But the men stretched out their hands and pulled Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And the people who were at the entrance of the house, young and old, they struck with blinding light, so that they were helpless to find the entrance. Then the men said to Lot, whom else have you here? Whom else have you here? Sons-in-law, your sons and daughters, or anyone else that you have in the city, bring them out of that place, for we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against them before the Lord has become so great that the Lord has sent us to destroy it. Okay, so the Father, Abi, Yahweh, has sent these angels to destroy this place, right? He is not with them in the sense of like physically present. He sent them there. Okay. So Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-law, who had married his daughters, and said, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his sons-in-law as one who jests. As dawn broke, the angels urged Lot on, saying, Take your wife and your two remaining daughters, lest you lest you be swept away because of the iniquity of the city. Still he delayed till the men seized his hand and the hands of his wife and his daughter and his daughter sorry and his two daughters in the Lord's mercy on him, and brought him out and left him outside the city. When they had brought them outside, one said, "Flee for your life, do not look behind you, nor stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the hills, lest you be swept away." But Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lord, you have been seen gracious to your servant, and have already shown me so much kindness in order to save my life. But I cannot flee to the hills, lest the disaster overtake me and I die. Look, that town there is near enough to flee to. It is such a place, it's such a little place. Let me flee there. It is such a little place, and let my life be saved." He replied, "Very well, I will grant you this favor too, and I will not annihilate the town of which you have spoken. Hurry, hurry, flee there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there." Hence the town came to be called Zoar. As the sun rose up the earth, and Lot entered Zoar, the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah. The Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah sulphurous fire from the Lord out of the heaven. So you see, from what I'm seeing here, there are two the Lords. And we're seeing that the Lord, right, the one that remained with Abraham, right, rained sulphurous fire from the Lord. So the Father who gave him authority, gave him the power, basically was physically present in the place of the destruction to command fire, which was from the Lord, who's invisible, to destroy what we basically called Sodom and Gomorrah. You see, now whoever the Lord is here is up for question, but you could see that the Mashiach talks a lot in the New Testament about Abraham and the fact that he saw Abraham. I think he said, I can't remember the top of my head, but I don't know if it's with Moses or it's with Abraham, where he says before he was born, I am. I'm pretty sure he talks about the fact that he was there. There was a connection with some of the things that Mashiach was saying, which ties in that Abraham knew him. You see what I'm saying? And maybe I'll, on another video, I'll come back and address that thing. Okay. Let's continue. It says, he annihilated those cities and the entire plain and all the inhabitants of the cities and the vegetation of the ground. Lot's wife looked back, and she thereupon turned into a pillar of salt. Next morning, Abraham hurried to the place where he had stood before the Lord, and looked down towards Sodom and Gomorrah and all the land of the plain. He saw the smoke of the land rising like the smoke of a kiln. This was that when God destroyed the city of the plain and annihilated the cities where Lot dwelt. God was mindful of Abraham and removed Lot from the midst of the upheaval. Lot went up from Zoar and settled in the hill country with his two daughters, for he was afraid to dwell in Zoar. And he and his two daughters lived in a cave. And the older one said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to consult with us in the way of all the world. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and let us lie with him, that we may maintain life through our father." That night they made their father drink wine, and the older one went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she rose. The next day, the older one said to the younger, "See, I lay with father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also, and you go and lie with him, that we may maintain life through our father." That night also they made their father drink wine, and the younger one went and lay with him. He did not know when she lay down or when she rose. Thus the two daughters of Lot came to be with child by their father. The older one bore a son and named him Moab. And the other father is he's the father of the Moabites today. And the younger also bore a son, and she called him Benami. And he is the father of the Ammonites of today. These typical places, if anyone's watched any of my previous videos, they're situated some side on the eastern border of the Jordan. Okay, the Moab is somewhere there, and these are children of incest. They are descendants of incest. Okay, we're going to go into chapter 20, and then we'll wrap it up. It says Abraham journeyed from there to the region of Negeb, settled between Kadesh and Shur. While he was sojourning in Gerar, Abraham said to Sarai his wife, "She is my sister." So King Abimelech of Gerar had Sarah brought to him. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "You are to die because of the woman that you have taken, for she is a married woman." Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Abimelech had not approached her. He said, "O Lord, will you slay people even though thou art innocent?" He himself said to me, "She is my sister." And she also said, "He is my brother." When I did this, my heart was blameless and my hands were clean. And God said to him in a dream, "I knew that you did this with a blameless heart, and so I kept you from sinning against me. That was why I did not let you touch her. Therefore, restore the man's wife, since he is a prophet. He will intercede for you to save your life. If you fail to restore her, know that you shall die, and you and all that are yours." You see the power that Abraham had? The father was not messing about, and he was gonna wipe people out. You know. When the father's anointed is touched, it says, "Touch not my anointed, do my prophets no harm." If you're working for the father and the father has got you as one of his main chess pieces, boy, you best not have no fear. Hmm? It says, early next morning, Abimelech called his servants and told them all that had happened, and the men were greatly afraid. Then Abimelech summoned Abraham and said to him, what have you done to us? What wrong have I done that you should bring so great a guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done to me things that ought not to be done. What then, Abimelech, demand of Abraham as your purpose in doing this thing? I thought, said Abraham, surely this is no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. And besides, she isn't in truth my sister, my father's daughter, though not my mother's, and she became my wife. So when God made me wander from my father's house, I said to her, "Let this be the kindness that you shall do me. Whatever place we come to, say there of me, he is my brother." Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and he restored his wife Sarah to him. And Abimelech said, "Here my land is before you. Settle wherever you please." And to Sarai he said, "I herewith give your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. This will serve you as a vindication before all who are with you, and you are cleared before everyone." Abraham then prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his slave girls, so that they bore children, for the Lord had closed fast every womb of the household of Abimelech because of Sarah and the wife of Abraham. So I only hope the reader and listen to this word has been blessed by this. You know, we're coming in the full volume of the book. We're reading out the Tanakh. You know, I've been reading different books. Like I started with the ESV. I need to go and actually change a lot of the videos and put ESV in front of as the captions, just so that when people in the future read or come across my channel, they can obviously refer to the version or the translation as they wish. You know, if they want to read the Tanakh translation, then this would be a more appropriate following. You know, and you see these videos I'm making, these are just raw videos. I'm not adding no special thumbnail. I'm not really doing anything special like that. That's because it talks about the Hamashiach. He was a meek fellow, and he wasn't like somewhat attractive in a sense. It's not saying he was an ugly person, but attraction wasn't his thing. You see what I'm saying? That's what these videos are really like. These are videos are not very attractive. These are really for a specific caliber of person who really likes to get down with just reading and believes in what he reads. He knows he's done enough study to understand that these things that are written in this book are true. You see what I'm saying? So when we get to that stage of where we can read this thing like a novel, it's fun. It's enjoyable. I like it. I don't give. I could read this so many times. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's an enjoyable. It's like I'm eating a meal. You see what I'm saying? A good meal that I enjoy. Yeah. So I hope that reader and listeners will be blessed by this. And yeah, we're gonna come back with another video at some stage as the Father permits. We are gonna be we're on actually the 9th day of the I wouldn't say the 9th day of the week, 9th day of the month of the 7th month. So we are coming into the Day of Atonement, which is a period where one has to afflict one's soul, meaning that one has to actually deprive oneself from things going into your mouth, right? I.e., water, food, anything. When you afflict your soul, in this sense, it's like you stop anything and for 24 hours. Okay. So through the Spirit, the Father got me to come up this morning to jump on the live and make a little 1 hour video, and I might come back later. I think probably throughout the day of the time I might be doing some of these videos, most probably because to keep yourself busy for 24 hours without eating, you've got to do something. And I'm only happy that it's fallen on the weekend. So may Yahweh bless you, may Yahweh keep you, may Yahweh shine his face upon you, may Yahweh be gracious to you. May Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you, and may Yahweh grant you everlasting peace in Yahshua. HaMashiach's name I pray. Selah.